So something's been troubling me for quite some time, and that's the job market. I think I made my point on this before, but it's really, really difficult to find jobs today. And I think that it's going to get worse. It's probably not going to get better. I think there's a possibility that I may never work again in my career. My job may be gone forever. And, if there are jobs out there, they're just going to get more scarce and more scarce. And eventually there's not going to be anything. And AI is going to take everything over. There's a few things that they talk about in the media. They talk about AI taking over all jobs, 99% of them by the year 2030. They also talk about universal basic income as a way to compensate people for not being able to work. Well, let's talk about the AI taking everything over for a minute. If AI takes everything over, now you can't work. Now you don't really have a purpose. Now you're just sitting around in the house, twiddling your thumbs or doing whatever. Okay, so that's going to create a lot of anxiety and depression. You give everybody universal basic income, assuming it's enough to get by, everybody's getting the same exact amount. There's nobody that's getting higher or lower. So that sounds very socialist to me. So no matter how hard you work, you're always going to make the same amount of money. I don't think that's going to fly in America. I don't think it's going to fly anywhere else in the world at this point, especially not in America. Okay. Now, the universal basic income that they're talking about is originally they were talking about $500 a month. And then I think they were talking about upping it to $1,000 a month. Well, let's say it's $1,000 a month. That's not enough. That's less than Social Security. That is not enough to take care of your bills and shit. It just isn't. It's not enough to even get by or get food on the table. I mean, you could probably, I'm not saying do better, working at McDonald's, but I mean, you're not going to do much better. You're not going to do much better than working at McDonald's at that rate. And then how do you fund it? Well, from what I hear, they're going to raise taxes to fund it. So you're basically paying for your own income, which is fucking ridiculous. I don't understand how the logic in that, how that logic works out. I really don't. I think it's basically, and I don't think the rich people that are pushing all this AI stuff with reckless abandon care. I think they're all about just trying to make profits, trying to push their technology get it as advanced as possible and beat the next guy. Everybody's got their own AI, and get into like the logic issues there too, but everybody's got their own AI. It's all got a different set of like prerogatives and priorities and things. Everybody's got their own like laws when it comes to programming AI. And then first of all, it's programmed by humans. So right there, it's inherently flawed. Secondly, everybody's got their own protocols, like if ChatGPT, OpenAI, whatever the different types of AIs that are out there all have their own little, programming behind it. So how is that all going to mesh together? And it's going to have to mesh together because there's just no avoiding it. It's going to be like, back in the old days when they had like Microsoft Explorer and Netscape and all these different web services, and Microsoft ended up just taking over the market and monopolizing. Well, there's going to be one clear winner and they're going to force their agenda across the board. But what about other countries? What about China? What about Russia? Are they going to go with it? I don't think so. They got their own AIs in development. So I don't understand how that's going to work. Like I said, if it does work, we're pushing all this AI. We're not taking into account the consequences that it has, the jobs it takes, the socialization that it eliminates, the the lack of purpose that it takes from everybody, and the addictive quality of it. Because people are using AI for everything now. They're using it to write songs. How the fuck can you take pride in a song that you didn't even write, or a book that you didn't even write, or a movie that you didn't even produce? I mean, how can you take any kind of pride in that? You had nothing to do with it. So what's the point of that? The whole reason that artists do what they do is to feel some sort of creative accomplishment in doing what they're doing. You take that away, then how are they supposed to feel any kind of accomplishment? How are they supposed to further their craft? How are they supposed to feel like they're growing as artists, expressing themselves? So I don't know how that's going to all work. But nobody is stopping the shit. We've got these little king, these no king protests and stuff that go on across the country, and we've got people that show up to these things staring at their phone. If you look online and watch one of these protests, within 5 seconds you'll see somebody marching, looking at their phone while they're marching. Yeah, I'm at the protest. Yeah, there's a lot of people here. Okay, I'll probably be home in a couple hours. Not even engaged. The whole point, you have to be engaged. If you're going to do something like that, you just have to be. You can't just be passively protesting. it's not gonna work. It's not enough. So we've got to do a lot more than that. And it's probably going to have to get bloody and violent, unfortunately, but that's just the only way things are going to change. They have to know that we mean business, and we have to band together and do it as a united front, and we have to be organized, at least semi-organized, in our execution of this. We've got people, I don't know if we've got leaders, but we've got people that we can look up to that are intelligent, thoughtful, that might be able to help with this. Jon Stewart, Bill Maher, even like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, the entertainers of this country, they have more sensibilities and wit about them than a lot of the politicians out there. Let's start with them, and then Bernie Sanders, who is a politician. Let's, get him, while he's alive and he's still coherent, let's get him in on this stuff. Because we really need to raise awareness for this, and we need to put our foot down on AI right now. Bernie was talking about how he needed to have like an emergency meeting of Congress to talk about AI and the consequences of it and how to execute it going forward. Well, that needs to happen. That needs to happen right away, because we're going to be in so much trouble very soon that we're not going to be able to turn this back. So it's very concerning. The bottom line is, if we don't do something, we're screwed.